Activity number 1, Part 1. The government and its officials on Rizal's view. The government which the Spain established in the Philippines was highly centralized in structure and national in scope. The central government and its officials was so powerful that almost everything had to be done with its knowledge and consent. Rizal viewed the government and the officials itself as corrupt, where they have used the public funds and power for personal or private benefit. Rizal explains that there was once a type of cancer so terrible that a sufferer could not bear to be touched. Other views of Rizal includes unequal treatment among Filipinos, or what they have called Indios, as stated in one of the chapters of Jose Rizal's novel, where the Spanish government calls Filipino people Indio. There is also an injustice way of claiming the lands of our ancestors and use it for their own purpose, such as the friars' way of claiming the lands of the farmers. Today's government and officials. Today, many incompetent officials land a career in government service, turning the bureaucracy into an efficient organization prone to corruption and manipulation of politicians. Realizing the negative effects of corruption in the country, the government still paid action to reduce and eliminate this once and for all. Also, I have taken notice of good governance through good leadership among our politicians of today amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. For good governance to be achieved, the government and its officials, as I could see, does not only possess competence, education, and skills, but also exhibit a great commitment and integrity to serve the public. The Church and Religion. Catholic orders and their friars were the wealthiest and most politically powerful elements within Filipino society. Spanish friars represented the hegemonic power of the Spanish government and foreign Catholic Church, while native priests pushed forward demands for greater authority in Filipino parishes. The book acknowledges that Rizal had legitimate grievances against the action of the Church, at this time rooted in experiences that outraged his sense of justice. As such, Rizal pits religion and education against one another, portraying religion as an oppressive force and education as a liberating force in the colonized Philippines. Tasio, one of his characters in his book El Filibusterismo, however, is an example. He is an old man who disregards religion in favor of philosophy and reason, for which the church label him as a madman. This is a defensive move that demonstrates to the other citizens that anybody who doesn't believe what the church says will be seen as crazy and untrustworthy. Knowing his own reputation, Tasio advises Ibarra not to associate with him, since it will only discredit Ibarra's project to build a school. In saying this, Tasio recognizes that there is a certain repercussion that came along with devoting oneself to unpopular modes of thought, but the building of school is more important than his own dignity. As of today, religion has taken much more effort in expressing thoughts in politics. Nowadays, the close association with Filipino identity have placed the Catholic Church at the heart of nationalism, social justice, and other movements, while at the same time, it has been associated with power to take part to achieve justice. Rizal's view on education. Education was largely provided by missionaries, and the study of religion was compulsory, but most Filipinos were not included. Rizal always considered education as a medicine or something that could cure the problems of colonial Philippines. He believed in education that is free from political and religious control. He asserted that a reform cannot be achieved if there is no suitable education, a liberal one available to Filipinos. But in the 19th century, according to his novel, education is considered a way to gain freedom which Spaniards does not allow. There was no equal education at that time, and if there is, most friars would oftenly brainwash their students. In one of the chapters in his novel, El Filibusterismo, When Ibarra plans to build a school for children, the friars are truly suspicious of such endeavors. The friars do everything in their power to covertly derail his effort to spread secular knowledge. Thus, in this case, the friars are fearful of education's power to liberate natives from the church's control. Today's perspective about education. Today, the focus is on expanding access and ensuring more Filipinos receive a decent basic education as a means of reducing poverty and improving national competitiveness. The Philippines has a vibrant and diverse education system, with the government, assisted by the private sector, providing a wide range of education from early years up to college and university across the archipelago. The Department of Education, or what we call as DepEd, oversees the provision of basic education that has paved way in continuing good innovators and coming up with solution providers needed to effectively function in a knowledge economy.
Romantic relationships. Rizal observation. Courtship is with decency and sincerity. Women are to be treated with respect and affection. A woman's yes must be earned with a lot of effort. Courtship was full of formalities. Traditionally, a man cannot just approach a lady and ask for her name or address. If a man sees a woman she likes, he should seek the help of a mediator, or tulay in Tagalog, to ask the permission of the girl's father if he can visit her in their house. Harana or serenade, sending love letters, and paninilbihan or servitude are just some of the traditions being practiced by traditional Filipinos. My observations. People nowadays see relationship as games because of the influence of Western culture through the intervention of modern technologies. Modern courtship these days is going fast. Our very own Harana turned into a song dedication on radio. Love letters evolved into a text messages, and pamamanhikan later becomes a family dinner and restaurants, making the traditional year-long courtship turn into weeks, days, or even a couple of hours. With the advent of new technologies, little by little, the Philippine courtship becomes cheaper and cheaper. Literally, in just a few hours of conversing through sending text messages and emails, one can easily find a partner. No wonder relationships these days don't stay long compared before. This is because in the first place, the foundation of the relationship is not strong. Now, you can just easily approach a lady walking on the street and ask for her phone number. A few talking and flirting on the phone will give you an instant boyfriend or girlfriend. You could even see couples having their first dates, holding hands, and PDAs, or public display of affection, things that are completely forbidden in the context of traditional courtship. Formal and decent relationships are only few, and in this generation, you can hardly find it. Pastimes and hobbies. Results observations. The rich and the privileged spend their free time throwing and attending parties as a social activity. Women like to gossip. Gambling was present. Cisa's husband was an inveterate gambler. My observation. Most spend their free time on their gadgets, playing video games or scrolling through social media. Also, eating has become a social activity because Filipinos love to eat and they are enjoying it. Less and less people are involved in active activities. They prefer to stay up late using their phones and playing games like Mobile Legends. All has become digital, reading ebooks, drawing directly on gadgets, producing electronic music.
Rizal's observations in the aspect of rich and poor of the society as depicted in Nole Me Tangere is through Simon, where he was asked by a rich Chinese businessman in Binondo. Even though he doesn't say this directly, but he clearly emphasizes that rich became richer and poor became poorer. The privileged are the rich people, and they are the ones that hold the dominant power politically, economically, yet they are social cancers. At that time, there was inequality reflective in excessive alms and taxes, often in the same name of religion. Some rich people used their power to influence poor people and gave injustice treatment. That is why the poor people stays poor, because they were forced to pay some unnecessary tax and was paid for their labor unfairly. My observations of rich and poor today are the same as Rizal's observation. It doesn't change that much because, human as we are, we tend to love things that give us pleasure and popularity. That is why everyone was so self-centered, loved money and fame. Rich people nowadays uses their money and power abusively and doesn't care about others. It is rampant in our society today that most politicians are corrupt and people will do everything for money, even if it means killing others. On the other hand, poor remains poor because they are being fooled by the rich people. Life in City, Rizal's observation. In Rizal's Noli Me Tangere, he describes Manila as dreary, unmodern, and unlovely. He even said that the city is seen through the eyes of the novel's protagonist, Crisostomo. Where transportation is a big problem and the pollution is lethal that can make everyone sick, we can already see the glimpse of how the people before used to live in the city just like today. Life in City, my observations. Life in city, of course, is way different with life I used to have in rural area. I can tell that in city, things are expected to be expensive. Wages are high and there are a lot of job opportunities. When it comes to people, they are much more formal and mostly they're educated. And when it comes to youth, they are very liberated unlike those that live in rural area. When it comes to safety and security, we can't really say that it is safe to walk alone at night. And lastly, city has more people and vehicles. That is why it is populated and not that peaceful unlike in a countryside.
That is all. Thank you for listening.